Hello, this is Dr. Mears, and today we are going to be learning about solving quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. Here's the quadratic formula: x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. This formula is one of the most famous formulas. If you ask somebody, they're going to say, oh, yeah, I remember the quadratic formula. It's kind of like remembering y equals mx plus b. So when you're older, this somewhere will be stuck in somebody's head. Now, please also remember that when we solve, we're looking for the x-intercepts. So this is kind of like a one-stop shop, like, hey, put your numbers in. Let's see what we get. These steps are a little bit easier. We learned the factoring method, and we also learned completing the square. And this might feel a little similar to completing the square, and that's because it actually comes from completing the square. So when you do this video, you're like, wait, we just sat through completing the square, which was like a 20-minute video, and now you're just going to kind of show us the easier way? Yep, that's what I'm going to do. But, hopefully you're going to see some connection between the two. So we have 3 steps. Let's go and do it. Number 1, write down A, B, and C. So let's go to this example. It does have to be set equal to 0, everybody. So making sure that we have everything is on one side of the equation and 0 is on the other. And if you are missing your A term, remember it's a 1. It likes to hide. So we have here's A, here's B, and here's C. And I like to write these down: A equals 1, B equals negative 6, and C equals 4. Yes, I've been doing this for many, many, many years. I still write my numbers down. Then what we need to do is substitute them into the formula. Where you see a B, put the B in. Where you see an A, put the A in. So let's do that. X equals. Now here's the trick. This is a negative. We need to keep this here. So what I do is I put that negative, and then I put a set of parentheses. So instead of the B, I just wrote down the set of parentheses because I'm actually going to put a negative 6 in. So be careful. Get it? Be careful, because this does still stay. So you're right, that will change to a positive. Plus or minus the square root. Again, instead of the letter, I'm just going to write down parentheses and square it. Okay? Instead of writing the B, I wrote parentheses and then a little square. I'm going to put the B in, negative 6. Minus 4 times, okay, instead of the A, notice what I did. I put parentheses in. And I'm going to put the A in the parentheses. And C, I put parentheses, C, I put the parentheses for C, and I'm going to put the C in. I'm using parentheses here. This will help in your calculator even. Use the parentheses, please, because the last thing I want you to do is mess up the negatives because you get the whole problem wrong. All divided by 2 times, I put the parentheses in, A, which is 1. Okay, number 3, we have to simplify. Start with the numbers in the denominator and then under the square root. So let's do this in a couple different steps. So first, the numbers in the denominator, that's 2. Okay. And you're also going to see that, what does this change to? That does change to a positive 6, so that's fine. Okay. What can we simplify? Let's put this inside of our calculator. We could square it. This is a 36. But this is what I like to do. I like to do parentheses, negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 4. So please notice I'm using parentheses. My negative's in the correct spot. Minus 4 times 1 times 4. Enter. That's going to be 20. Now, the reason why I didn't take the square root, the reason why I didn't all of a sudden do the square root is because this is going to turn out to be a decimal. We can't take the square root of 20. So I want to see this step. I want to see it with the square root. Because the next step that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to divide this into 2 parts. So what does that mean? I'm actually going to give that 2 to the 6 and to the 20. It's like I'm distributing, but instead of multiplication, I'm using division. So this is going to be 6 divided by 2 plus or minus the square root of 20 divided by 2. And you're right, 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3 plus or minus the square root of 20 over 2. Can I simplify this further? Yes. Is that a whole nother lesson of simplifying square roots? Yes. Will I make a video? Sure, I will make a video for you. And before we make the video, what I do want you to do is split these up. 3 plus the square root of 20 over 2, and x equals 3 minus the square root of 20 over 2. There's my lights. Sorry, everybody. You can't divide these because the square root, the 20 is under the square root sign. So we do have to simplify this 20. And I want you to check my video out. This does simplify to 4 square roots, of 5. 4 square roots of 5 over 2. Now I can divide these two numbers, so x equals 3 plus 2 square roots of 5. And so this would be the same over here, 3 minus 2 square roots of 5. This would still be 4 square roots of 5 over 2. Now, if you're, say, Dr. Mears, I did not get that. It's okay. You can do this part in your calculator right now to calculate out the decimals. I'm actually going to leave it because I am going to say to my students that you are going to be watching this video on how to simplify. So you will get there. For now, my students, you may leave it and you may just separate it and leave it. That's absolutely fine because I'm not holding you accountable today, but soon coming up, you are going to know how to do this process. But for those of you who aren't my students, this is where your teacher would have you go next. Okay, number 2. 3x squared plus 6x equals negative 2. So I'm just going to kind of make a little box here. All right. So first, what's first? We have a minus 2. We need it to be equal to 0. So let's plus 2 and plus 2. So I have 3x squared plus 6x plus 2 equals 0. Okay, so it has to be equal to 0. Now, write down A, B, and C. So if you want to do a little note, make sure equal to 0. If you want to make a little note there, that's, I didn't write that as a step, but make it a little note. That's absolutely fine. All right, let's pull out A, B, and C. A is 3, B is 6, and C is 2. And substitute them into the formula. X equals negative B, which is going to be 6 plus or minus square root, parentheses squared, so that's B squared minus 4, parentheses, I'm going to put my A, parentheses, I'm going to put my C, all over 2 times A, which is 3. So please be careful. Now, if you want more work with the quadratic formula, if you're like, can I have another video, please? There are more videos on my YouTube. So just search quadratic formula, and there will be videos that come up that you can watch another one and get more and more practice with this, because I'm only doing a few examples. Okay, so x equals, this is a negative 6 plus or minus. 2 times 3 is 6. I'm going to run out of room and need more paper. Now we have the square root, so I am going to let's clear this out. So I'm just going to do under the square root, so it's going to be 6 squared minus 4 times 3 times 2, using my parentheses, 6 squared minus 4 times 3 times 2. I'm going to get 12. And again, some people may stop here. Some people might not stop here as a teacher. But am I going to want you to go on if you're in my class? Yes, I am going to want you to go on. So let me just move this down a little bit. All right, so where do we go from here? So we are going to separate these. So x equals negative 6 divided by 6 plus or minus square root of 12 divided by 6. We can simplify this. I'm holding you accountable. You need to simplify this. So x equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 12 over 6. This, do not divide. You can simplify this. Another video is coming up on that. But what do you do in the meantime? Negative 1 plus the square root of 12 over 6. Negative 1 minus the square root of 12 over 6. This is where I want my students, just watching this video, this is where you're going to stop until you watch the simplification video. So this is fine. Write down those answers, absolutely. If you want to do it in a point form, you can, where you do a point. Now, for others watching this video that I don't have right now, or if you're rewatching this video, simplifying the square root of 12. So when we simplify the square root of 12, it is going to be 2 square roots of, actually 4, yeah, 2 square roots of 3 over 6. X equals negative 1 minus 2 square roots of 3 over 6. Those can be simplified to 1/3, so that's the square root. Same thing here, square root of, and the ones like to hide, so those would be your final answers. The one likes to hide here. So again, students, I want you to get down here for the quadratic formula until you learn how to simplify this into here, okay? Because that is another process. All right, what else do we have? What is next? So these two here, what I would like, oops, sorry, my bad. All right, so these two here, I want you to, for number 3, 6x squared equals 7x plus 5. I want you to notice that we're not equal to 0. So do we have a couple things to do? Yes. We need to get the 7x over to the other side. So minus 7x minus 7x. So now we're at 6x squared minus 7x equals 5. Are we solved for 0 yet? No. Minus 5 minus 5 out. 6x squared minus 7x minus 5 equals 0. Excellent. Now we're ready to go. Step 1, pull out A, B, C. A is 6, B is negative 7, C is negative 5. Once we pulled out A, B, C, let's put them into our quadratic formula. Negative B. B is negative 7. So C, be careful. Put the negative and then put parentheses so your B can go in. Plus or minus B squared, negative 7 squared, minus 4 times A is 6 times C, negative 5, all over 2 times A. Now we're ready to simplify. X equals 2 times 6 is 12. Yes, that becomes a positive. Plus or minus, what's inside the square root? And 169. Cool. X equals, let's give the 12 to everybody. So this is going to be 7 plus 7 over 12 plus the square root of 169 over 12, or minus. So I separated both of those. Guess what? Let's see if we can take the square root of 169 on there. Second square root of 169. And you can do this with any number just to see if it comes out. I knew 20 and 12 don't have perfect squares, so that's why I didn't take them. But guess what? 169, that's a square root of, that's 13. The square root of 169 is 13. So you can actually do x equals 7 over 12 plus or minus 13 over 12. If you want to get the, can we combine them? Yeah. So x equals 7 over 12 plus 13 over 12. X equals 7 over 12 minus 13 over 12. X equals 7 plus 13, 7 plus 13, 20. So 20 over 12, 7 minus 13, negative 6. X equals negative 6 over 12. Mirrors, can you reduce that to negative 1/2? Yes, you can. So here are your two answers. You can write them in point form if you want, but I really like exact form like we did here. Okay, and the last one, so let's do it. All right, is a set equal to 0? Check. Write down our A, B, and C. A is 1, B is negative 4, and C is 5. This is an important one. It's going to come out to be different. So if you're like, I know how to do this, I'm going to stop the video. Please do not stop the video. This one's important. Thanks. Okay. Let's write down x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root squared, negative 4 squared minus 4 times A times C, all over 2A. X equals, yep, 2 times 1 is 2. That does turn out to be a positive 4, plus or minus the square root. We put this in the calculator. Guess what we're going to get? We get a negative 4. Now I know you can take the square root of 4, but here's the thing. This is a negative under a square root. This is actually an imaginary number. Yes, I'm not making that up. It is. Are we going to get into imaginary numbers? No. What am I going to tell you? I'm going to tell you this does not cross the x-axis. You can't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere. It doesn't cross the x-axis. So no x-intercepts. Do we write that? Yes, that's what you write down. That's exactly what you write down. And I'm actually going to, let's graph this one. I actually have a couple graphs here. Okay. So let's graph it and see what it looks like. I actually have a lot of graphs here, but I do have this one, x squared minus 4x plus 5, and that's this one on top. When you see that black box there, that means that's the only one that's going to graph. So all of these others don't have those black boxes. So when I graph this, that's the only one that's going to get graphed. So as you can see, this graph, and I'm just going to do a little sketch down here. This graph does not cross. Here we go. Boom. So it doesn't have any x-intercepts. That negative underneath there, it tells you that. So what do? You just write no x-intercepts, and you show me that this is a -4. You have to split anything up? Nope. You just stop there. Okay, and I'm going to stop here. So this has been using the quadratic formula. Remember, check out my other videos if you want more practice. I do explain it in a little bit different way, still using the parentheses. So those videos might actually help if you're a little bit confused. So go and check those other videos out. Hope this helped. Thanks.